Hi, I'm Gracie,
I'm Brooke.
and we're going to be talking about the leisure class and cultural capital and the interactions between the two. Think to yourself, what brands or items distinguish what social class someone is in? Here is an Eames chair and a Rolex. When you see these, you may think that someone is in a higher social class, whereas whenever you see a regular chair or a fossil watch, you may think that someone is middle to lower class. Thorstein Veblen was an American sociologist and economist who was a criticizer of capitalism. And he believed that the leisure class was a class of people who were exempt from productive work. These people exist in the upper class and social hierarchy, and they demonstrate their economic superiority by not working. Conspicuous consumption. This is the idea that the elite are selling ideas of what you should have rather than what you need to the lower classes. This commodifies feelings rather than fulfilling needs. Pictured are some designer shopping bags and a meal from a Michelin star restaurant. While you may be able to, quote unquote, flex your status by going to a Michelin star restaurant, you probably won't be getting your needs completely met by the quantity of food on your plate. You will probably still be hungry afterwards. The same goes for designer shopping. You could get the same thing that serves the same need at a cheaper store, but because it's not designer, you settle. Leisure class. Who's in it? The failure to consume in due quantity and quality becomes a mark of inferiority and demerit. Who's in the leisure class? Well, those who can afford a high end lifestyle, some intellectuals depending on their friends, but mostly those who own the means of production. These individuals own the means of production, so they don't have to work to make their money, not in the same way that the working class does. So they make their money on the backs of the bourgeoisie through their modes of production. Back to conspicuous consumption. A real world application could be the local Green Hills Mall. Pictured here are the Gucci store, Louis Vuitton store, David Yurman, and Chanel stores. If you were to see someone walk in or out of these stores, you would probably already have a preconceived notion about where this person falls in the social hierarchy. You may assume that they are in the leisure class, higher on their bureaucratic ladder at work, more likely to own the means of production than the working class citizen. Another real world application, in addition to the previous stores that have been mentioned, are the stores pictured here: Aerie, Claire's, American Eagle, and that's fine, and dry goods. These stores, you may assume that someone who walks in or out of these stores with shopping bags is more likely to be in the working class or quote unquote middle class part of society, but they aren't a part of the leisure class, or so you would assume. Self justification theory. This is the feeling that we must consume even if or when we lack the means to consume. Our ego fiercely protects our identity, but identity hides behind ego. This can lead to us consuming goods in order to add them to our identity through watching our peers consume higher end goods. So, how do we get to the leisure class? The leisure class is what we have been taught to aspire to, so how do we get there? Ideas for this could be bootstraps, pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and just making do, or making intellectual connections, or cultural capital.
Cultural capital is comprised of the knowledge, skills, and education that someone possesses, and it plays a big role in social mobility. Cultural capital was an idea introduced by Pierre Bourdieu, who believed that our social norms are internalized and are deeply rooted within us. And it takes observation in the social institutions that we belong to and knowledge to change our beliefs about norms and to utilize them to move up within the social ladder. Cultural capital is recognized in three distinct forms, being the embodied, objectified, and institutional states, which all symbolize distinctions in class and our opportunity for social mobility. These forms may take form in the knowledge that we inherently have, the groups that we're a part of, and institutions like our schools and the degrees that we seek, and especially the material objects that we consume, leading back to the leisure class. Understanding social norms is key to regaining or gaining cultural capital. We do this by recognizing and understanding the unspoken rules of society, understanding how to fit in and what goods we need to feel like we fit in through the social institutions we're a part of every day. We do this in 3 distinct phases, which include taking in information through social observation. We then decipher and decode what happens around us and to us and how we're treated based on the institutions we're a part of and the goods that we have and what we wear. And then finally, we decide if we want to be included in those norms or not. So then acting accordingly of choosing to purchase certain goods or not to purchase certain goods to send a message to people around us.
So, how can we use cultural capital to climb the social ladder? Well, it can be a tool. It can allow us to make connections and bond with people outside of our social class, granting us social mobility. Attaining the leisure class is no easy feat for most folks, but attaining knowledge as simple as table etiquette can make a lasting impression on those in position of power, allowing you to network and climb the social ladder. Recognizing that there is social hierarchy is the first step to being able to climb the social ladder. Knowledge attained from university becomes a commonality between intellectuals and elites, thus allowing intellectuals to be in higher class spaces. This requires a certain level of privilege going in, but if university is an option, it's always a good place to network.
The age of attending a university is usually when people start to form their own identities and determine how they want to be viewed by others and how they want to feel about themselves. This is the place where we can determine what kind of cultural capital is important to us and how we can achieve it. So even for us at Belmont, going to the Green Hills Mall and figuring out where you want to shop and what kind of message you want to send through your clothing is really important to determining your identity and using the networks around you to elevate yourself to that leisure class. And so Veblen and Bourdieu interact in this way because we can utilize different forms of capital in strategic ways that allow people to advance further through social networks, attaining status in the leisure class through modes of consumption and what that symbolizes to the rest of society.